Bighorn's George is the 10th episode of the 8th season of Arthur, and this one is a celebration of the blues, of blues music. And George is in the ice cream parlour, and the brain is working. Now, let's remember that the brain is 8 years old, and he's currently working at the ice cream parlour, which is a little bit awkward. But they're both there, and in walks Mrs. McGrady with Coco Taylor. Now, I hadn't heard of Coco Taylor, but she is apparently a very famous blues singer. Um, and it's always interesting when a real life person is animated in Arthur. Now, apart from when it was done with Byron and the Shelleys, I've never had a real life person in Arthur who I knew about beforehand. So I'd be interested to know if you're a fan of Coco Taylor or you're aware of her work. What did you think of the interpretation of her? I cannot form an opinion, but certainly I liked the character. And the brain introduces George to Coco Taylor's work and then other blues songs, and George becomes really interested in the blues and tries to write a song. But when all of the children, for whatever reason, gather at Mrs. McGrady's house and Coco Taylor is there, it's a very weird moment. George gets scared and doesn't want to perform. And it's it's partly about encouraging him to perform and helping him to realise that everybody gets stage fright. But it's also about teaching him and the viewer that the blues is a very personal thing. With music in general, there's not necessarily a right way or a wrong way to do it. And as long as you're doing it from your heart, singing lyrics that mean something to you, and playing music that comes from your soul, that's generally what's important, rather than something that's, expertly crafted and pitch perfect. And I think it really delivers the message very well. If it gets even one viewer interested in the blues or in music in general, I think it's done a good job. Personally, not really a fan of the blues. I don't dislike the blues, but I don't actively like it, if you know what I mean. Um, but certainly I think it could encourage somebody to take an interest. Not a bad episode at all. I like George as a character. I like the messages. Obviously very well animated. I can't comment on the character of Coco Taylor, but I certainly enjoyed the character and it taught me something, so not a bad episode at all.